So, what is your special skill, your superpower, your I could do this with my eyes closed thing? Maybe you're somebody that can speak multiple languages, or maybe you're someone who walks into a room and you can command presence, or maybe you're somebody who is able to stay calm in the middle of chaos. Well, my special skill, my superpower, the thing that I can do naturally, is being a goody two shoes. I am the queen of goody two shoe land, the princess of the perfect patty club. I am the ultimate teacher's pet. Well, I was when I was in school. Now, I'm not saying any of this is a good thing. It's actually not a good thing, but I'm just saying it's been true of my childhood and young adult life. I learned early on that doing good and being perfect at everything, it gave me good results. So when I had good behavior, I was doted on by my authority figures, pastors, principals, teachers, family, parents. And when I did good by, doing well in school, then I was rewarded with verbal affirmation. And when I did good by following instructions correctly, then I never, and I mean never, got in trouble. Therefore, everyone's pleased, I'm not a disappointment. But over time, I realized that I wasn't really trying to be good. I was trying to feel safe. And chasing that safety through goodness, it gave me a sense of control over the unpredictability of life that I hated. I hate the feeling of unpredictable outcomes. Now, I tell you all of this because, unbeknownst to me, these control issues that I realized that I had, these control issues had started to bleed into my work. Now, this is important because I work in ministry. And when you work in ministry, your personal relationship with God is directly tied to your work performance and the way that you make money. And so I had realized over time that I had started to meticulously manage my faith the same exact way that I was meticulously managing my job. And so at work, I write Bible studies and vacation Bible school curriculum and preaching outlines for pastors. And because of this, I work with the Bible in a very particular way. I read it, I have to outline it, I have to cross-reference it, I have to dissect it, I have to use Bible software. And so because I'm using the Bible in this way, I didn't realize that in the back of my head, not the front of my head, because I know better up here, but back here, I had started to think that that must mean that if I repent thoroughly enough, and if I talk to God often enough, and if I pray hard enough, and if I go to church often enough, and if I do all of these enoughs, then that meant that I had complete control over my spiritual growth. But faith was never meant to be controlled. And the more I tried to control it, the less control I realized that I had. And so the day that I realized something was wrong, the day that I started to realize I was having control issues it was the last day of an annual conference that we do at my job every year. And a pastor came and he did a short devotional with us, just with the staff. And he was just there to encourage us. And he told us, he told us a little bit about Moses in Exodus 3 and how Moses was just out doing his normal day-to-day thing for 40 years. He was out tending to the sheep in the same environment that he's always in. And it was this one day where there was the burning bush. And the text says that specifically he turned aside. And when he paused to turn aside and he saw the burning bush, he went over to investigate. And so he warned us. He said, you guys, you work at this great ministry. You see miracles happen all the time. It's almost as if you work at the burning bush. And so if you work at the miracle place, then you need to be careful that you don't let your work become common and you don't let it become routine. And then you'll stop turning aside in the same way that Moses decided to turn aside. He said, you'll stop turning aside. And that was when something was wrestling in me. And I didn't really know that it was a control issue at first. But when he said that, I knew something was wrong. And so over the next few weeks, I realized after some reflection that the reason that hit me so much is because I was struggling with control issues. And so here's what I've learned since then. The problem with control is that it does keep us productive, but when we let go of control, that's what keeps us alive and aware to whatever is happening in our environment. It keeps us present and it allows us to enjoy the journey of wherever we're going. And so here's a working definition for us today for control. Control is our attempt to secure a particular outcome in a world that cannot guarantee us anything. It's the quiet, internal belief that we can protect ourselves from uncertainty and discomfort if we manage things carefully enough. And so today, we're just gonna walk through 3 very brief shifts that we can all incorporate into our lives in order to let go of control so that we can actually enjoy the journey and the process of becoming whoever it is we're becoming. It doesn't matter where you work, if you're a student, we're gonna learn just a few things to at least start to try to let go of control, because I know I'm still working on it. The first one is this, it's change the pace. Changing the pace is all about slowing down, and we all need to slow down. Whether you're a student that's chasing after a particular GPA, or a professional athlete that is obsessively training without getting any rest, or for those of us that sometimes jump into committed relationships way too fast. We live in a state of urgency. Even with smartphones and social media, we have constant, immediate access to people in our phones. Or with the way that we watch TV. We can binge watch an entire television show with no advertisements. When we slow down, we're forced to sit with the things that we cannot control. And we're forced to sit with the things that we dislike, like ambiguity and rejection and waiting and God's timing even. And we have to address those things if we want to grow and if we want to mature. Even with Moses at the burning bush, he paused, turned aside, and noticed something that was different in an environment that he was in every single day. And so sometimes we're in these environments and we're doing these things every single day because it's routine. But if we slow down, we might notice something different. If we slow down, we might notice a conversation that wasn't being had before. If we slow down, then we won't miss the details and we won't miss special encounters because we were rushing through life. And so for me, changing the pace and slowing down has looked like making sure that whatever lesson that God might be trying to teach me, or even a mentor or a friend with advice, whatever lesson that I think that I need to be learning, I don't have to immediately apply it perfectly that same day. Because hello, perfectionism. If I learn something, especially if I have a good understanding of it, I'm like, oh, that's getting applied today. I'm doing it right today. But if I don't do that, which I don't because who does that, then I feel like a failure. And so for me, my practice of changing the pace and slowing down is remembering I don't have to rush through this lesson. It might take me years to apply this lesson in different ways and in different styles. Sometimes certain lessons you have to chew on it, you have to meditate on it, and you have to try it over and over again. So for me, that's what it has looked like to slow down with my work. And the second one is changing your posture. Now, your posture is all about the way that you approach something. It's your reason behind doing something. Control's posture, it wants to master and it wants to perform. But when we let go, it's more about receiving and taking things as they come. It's essentially being tight-fisted versus open-handed with your life. Changing your posture is all about asking yourself, am I trying to prove something in this situation? Am I just doing this because I need to prove a point? Or am I willing to be shaped by whatever is happening here? For example, when I was in seminary, I was constantly reading theology books and looking up Greek words in my fancy Bible software and listening to my professors talk about the history of the Babylonians. And all of this was fine and dandy, but because I was constantly reading and dissecting and doing all of these things, I wasn't careful with the way that what my posture was. And so eventually the Bible and all of my very expensive textbooks, it all became purely academic. Like by the time I got to my last year before graduation, I realized how exhausted I was. And I was exhausted because my heart posture had changed. I had turned the Bible into this book that I needed to master. And I just needed to master all of the theological conundrums. And it stopped being a place of encounter for me. And so what I would say for you is whatever area of life that is for you where you feel a sense of exhaustion that you normally don't, or if there's some kind of exhaustion that's popping up, whether it's in a relationship or somewhere in work or your mental health, if there's some level of exhaustion that's coming up in you, that might be the place for you where you need to change your posture and address it in that way. And so for practice number 3 is changing the metric. Now, changing the metric is all about how we measure our success and how we measure growth. And so control, it wants to measure through the outcome, but letting go wants to measure through your faithfulness in the process. And so with changing the metric, you might ask yourself something like, was I honest here? Did I have integrity here? And we do this all the time. You know, we measure our success with things like our grades and the job promotions and getting the new job and having the corner office and that relationship status. But the thing about that is that when we tie our success and when we tie our worth specifically to very particular outcomes that are always going to change or have the possibility to change, then we can become anxious and erratic because we're tying something to an outcome that might not happen. And the thing is, you could be really rich in life. You could be somebody who takes care of your children and you're well respected at work and you're generous and you're giving and you're kind-hearted to strangers and you give back to your community, all of these things. And many people would say that is a success, and it is. But because your perspective is just a little off, you won't see all of those things and you'll focus on the fact that you don't have the corner office. And what I'm saying, I'm not saying that you shouldn't desire the corner office, you shouldn't desire the job promotion, you shouldn't go after that new thing. You could do that. But it's also important to remember that you can be a successful human being. You could be a success for other reasons because you had integrity in that really hard situation, because you stayed faithful to the program, even though by the time you got to the end, it didn't turn out the way that you wanted, but you were faithful in it and you tried and you know that you ticked all of your boxes. And sometimes things don't work out the way that we want. And it's really sad and we can grieve that, but it doesn't mean that you're not a success. And so in my life, I think the control issues typically were seen as this striving for excellence all the time, or my perfectionism kicking in and me feeling as if I needed to overly prepare with a plan A and a plan B and a plan C and a plan D. But I've realized over time that life doesn't work like that. And even if we do everything correctly, it does not guarantee us any particular outcome. And so in closing, I used to think that my superpower was being good. And for a long time, that really did work. It gave me some sense of false peace. But what I've learned now is that I don't need a superpower because I have a supernatural God. And he was never asking me to be in total control of anything. He just wanted me to trust him with my life. And so our spiritual vitality isn't powered by our grip. It's sustained by his presence. And the best thing that we can do is not try to control the fire burning in the bush, but stand before it, surrendered, aware, and willing to be changed. And I hope you'll try to do the same. Thank you.